Singh, and I'm a part of the Fast Track team for Dynamics. I'm very excited about this session as this information does not exist in any public documentation. I hope you enjoy it. As you may already know, there are two different experiences for the Sales Copilot. The first one is Copilot for Sales. It's available in Microsoft 365 and Teams applications. And the second one is Copilot in Dynamics 365 Sales. This is an in-app experience. And this session is about the in-app experience. We will start the session with the introduction to extensibility, followed by extensibility tool. Then we will talk about extensibility options, ALM considerations, live demo, resources, and we will end the session with call for action. Copilot extensibility. So why is extensibility so important? It's a game changer for businesses. It allows you to enhance and expand the capabilities of the Copilot to meet your specific business needs. You can integrate the Copilot with your existing systems or data sources. By leveraging extensibility, businesses can foster innovation, streamline operations, and position their business for success in this ever-changing dynamics market landscape. Extensibility tool. Before we talk about the tool, let's compare a Copilot with a chatbot. A typical chatbot is text-based. It can make API calls. It can perform specific tasks based on a predefined rules, and it has a limited context. On the other hand, Copilot supports natural language. It can get the data from the multiple data sources. It can summarize that data. It can generate content. And the best part is, it does have a context. If you look at Copilot in sales, the information changes when you move from one screen to another, when you move from one form to another. Microsoft Copilot Studio. This is the tool we will be using to customize our Copilot in sales. If you are familiar with Power Virtual Agents, then you're already familiar with Copilot Studio. In the last Ignite, we announced the evolution of PVA or Power Virtual Agents to Microsoft Copilot Studio. Here, you can customize first-party Copilots, you can build your custom Copilots, and you can also manage them. As shared on the last slide, Copilot Studio is a tool to extend the first-party Copilots. In addition, you have access to Board Framework, Board Services Channel, Azure AI Studio. So this is pretty cool. If you're already working on your custom models or AI endpoints, you can expose that to Copilot Studio. You have access to cognitive services, AI build-up, and also Power Platform connectors. Power Platform connectors are really important here because we will be using them to enhance our Copilot in sales. Extensibility options. Copilot in sales is like any other PVA or Power Virtual Agents board. It's a first-party board available in Dataverse solution. To extend the Copilot, we will be extending this specific Sales Copilot Power Virtual Agent board as shown in the screenshot. So here are some of the extensibility scenarios. If you are familiar with the Copilot Studio, then you already know what the topic or a skill is. So you can add a new skill or a topic to the Copilot. You can configure the Sparkle menu. You can extend out-of-the-box skills. You can customize FRE card or a zero card. You can customize a code picker. And you can customize suggested prompts. To understand these options better, let's have a look at the Copilot features. Any prompt you use in the Copilot, such as show my pipeline, summarize lead, summarize opportunity, these are all examples of topics and skills. Let's move on to the Sparkle menu. If you see a double addition icon at the bottom of the Copilot, that's your Sparkle menu. The purpose of the Sparkle menu is to organize different prompts into groups for easy access. Some prompts need an input. For example, if you type summarize opportunity /, Copilot will display a list of records to pick, and that's your record pickup. And there are some specific skills or sales-oriented skills like opportunity summary, lead summary. These are your out-of-the-box skills. And sometimes when you run the opportunity summaries or account summary, the Copilot can suggest some follow-up actions. For example, get latest news for the account. What's changed since I last logged in? Now let's talk about card 0. When you launch the Copilot or when you refresh the Copilot, the first card you see on the screen, that's your card 0 or FRE card. Adding custom topics and skills to Copilot. This option is available right now. I believe more than 60% of your extensibility scenarios can be fulfilled using this option. It will allow you to add custom skills or topics to meet your specific business needs. You have 2 or 3 different options here. You can add a new skill or a topic. You can use a pre-built topic, or you can use out-of-the-box fallback topics. If you have a requirement to get the data from the third-party system, then this is your best friend. We're going to discuss some of these scenarios in our live session. Configuring Sparkle menu. This option is available right now. As shared earlier, the purpose of Sparkle menu is to organize different skills and prompts for easy access. So the user doesn't need to remember all the different skills and prompts by heart. It facilitates easy access to the resources, and it also contributes towards the user adoption. Extending out-of-box skills. This feature is not available at the moment, but it will be coming out soon. This will allow you to enhance out-of-the-box skills like opportunity summary, account summary, lead summary, recent news, with additional information from the third-party data sources. The only other thing I can share at the moment is we are thinking about traditional plugins to expose this functionality. Application lifecycle management. Before we start extending the Copilot in sales, let's have a quick look on the ALM process. The process is exactly the same as Dynamics CEO Power Platform. Here are the steps. Create a new solution, click on Add Existing, add the Sales Copilot board, open the board from the solution, and add new topics as required. Also, Copilot in Sales is a managed solution, so any modification of managed components can create an unmanaged layer. So the advice is, create your own components. Do not try to modify the existing or built-in components. Add new topic. This is my solution in the Maker's experience. The name of the solution is Copilot in Sales Extensions. I have already added my Sales Copilot PVA board to the solution. As you can see, I already have some cloud flows and some topics in the solution. To open this board in a Copilot Studio, just double-click on it. As you can see, on the right-hand side, we have our test pane. This is where you can test your topics while you are building it. So you don't have to keep going back and forth between Copilot Studio and the Copilot in Sales. There may be some scenarios where you can't really test it here. For example, if you're passing the information like which screen you are on, which entity you are on, you're passing the record ID from the sales app to the Copilot, then maybe in some scenarios you can't really test it here, but for most of the scenarios, you can test your topic straight in Copilot Studio. So there are 3 or 4 different tabs at the top. We got Overview, Knowledge, Topics, Actions, and Analytics. So the most important one here is Topics and Actions, specifically for the Copilot in Sales scenario. So let's add a new topic. Add a topic. So every topic has a trigger, and you have different options for the triggers. You can use phrases. You can have a message you received, event received, or activity received. So this is our first topic. So we're going to stick to the very simple one. We're going to choose a phrase. So I'm going to add a phrase here, my first topic. So you can add up to 10 different phrases here. So you can add any variations of whatever you think the user is going to say. You can add them there to make it a bit more reliable. So now add node. So these are different actions you can take after you trigger a topic. You can send a message. You can ask a question. You can ask a question with the adaptive card. You can add a condition. Conditions like, if the record ID exists, if the entry type is this, then we have a variable management where you can set the values for the variables or parse value. In a topic management, you can go from one topic to another, and there's some other options there too. Then we have call an action. This is one of the most important ones, and that's how you call the external systems. Then in the advanced, you have some generative answers, HTTP call, or you can log the custom telemetry of the Copilot to the app inside. So here, we're going to just send a message back to the user. So I'm going to type, this is my first topic, and I'm calling it from the Copilot. Save it. Now test the result here. My first topic as a prompt. As you can see, I got the response back. Let's publish the topic now. Let's see if it works in the sales app. Refresh the Copilot. My first topic. As you can see, we can get the same response. This is how easy it is to actually extend your Copilot with your custom topics. Let's talk about another topic. The name of the topic is Get Recommendations. I'm using the same trigger as the last one, phrases. The only difference is this topic will be calling a plugin. Add node, call an action. Under basic actions, you can see all my Power Automate flows that I can call from the Copilot. In the connectors tab, you can see all the available connectors. These are the same connectors that are available in Power Automate flows or Power Apps. In the last tab, we have custom plugins. So for this exercise, I will be choosing the second one, Get PPAC Recommendations. Before we go any further, so this plugin is built on top of our Power Automate flow. That flow is calling our Power Platform admin APIs to get the recommendations. So there's a reason behind why I'm using a plugin instead of using a Power Automate here. So if you can see, so there is no input and there are two different outputs for this plugin. The first one will give me all the recommendations, and the second one, scenario details, will give me the details about those recommendations. Now I have to display this information back to the end user. To do that, I'm going to send a message. Insert variable. Here you can choose a variable to display. So I'm going to choose output. Save. And test the topic. We have the outcome. as you can see, but this is not really readable. To make this information more readable for the end user, we have a couple of options here. The first one is you can display this information as a basic card. Where you will add the title, subtitle, and some more information in there. But the better option is adaptive card. So if you're using PVA or Power Automate approvals, then you must be familiar with adaptive cards. So it helps you to format the data the way you want to display it. So if you're not familiar with adaptive cards, this is a website called adaptivecards.io designer. You can go there and design your adaptive cards. You can drag and drop the text blocks and formatting. The only thing I would say here is when you are retrieving the dynamic contents, then you have to make some changes in your adaptive card in the Copilot Studio. For this exercise, I won't be using the adaptive cards. I'm going to delete this. So this is the reason why I'm using plugin instead of calling out Power Automate Flow. So let's have a look at my plugin. Go to Actions. So there is no input for the plugin. In the Output tab, we have a checkbox. Respond to the user after running the action. So if you click that, the plugin will automatically generate a message for you, AI-generated message for you. So you don't need to worry about the formatting and stuff. So there is a grayed out option there. So in future, plugin can also generate an adaptive card for you. But for time being, I'm just using the default option. Another thing which is really important here is in the description of the output fields, you can provide some instructions like here I'm saying display the information in a list format. So that's the only thing you need to do if you're using plugins. Save this and test the scenario. Test the topic. As you can see, this output is formatted pretty well. So we have two recommendations. The first one is related to the Power Pages, and the second one is saying we have 64 unused Power Apps. If you want to make this experience a bit better, so you can display the outcome first, and then you can ask the question to the end user, do you want to look at the details? If they say yes, then you can display the scenario details. Publish it. Now test it in the Copilot. Get recommendations. As you can see, we got the same information here. So this is how you can get the data from the third-party systems and display that in your Copilot in sales. Let's talk about a real-life scenario. I have a banking customer who is using Dynamics 365 to process loan applications. At some point in the application processing, they need account balance and a transaction history of the customer, which is stored in a third-party system. To get this information, they built an integration that updates almost 1 million customers every single night. They have spent a substantial amount of money and effort to build and test this integration. Every now and then, they get hit by throttling limits. The information in a Dynamics 365 system can be stale because it's a nightly update. For the scenario like that, Copilot extension is the best solution. It's cost-effective, it's simple. You can retrieve the information in just point in time. You don't need to think about the throttling limits. You can connect to any system that exposes some sort of APIs. I have built this proof of concept for the banking scenario. I'm using phrases as trigger again. And the only other thing I'm doing here is calling my plugin bank transactions. I'm not displaying any output because my plugin is going to look after that. So let's have a look at the plugin. So here, I'm passing a record ID as an input. And based on that record ID, the plugin is going to return me the bank transactions. So this is a global variable. It already exists in a Copilot. So what it's doing is passing the ID of a record, whichever form you are on. For example, if you're on a contact form, it's going to give me the contact ID. And if you are on an account form, it's going to give me account ID. Output is exactly the same. I'm using just a default one. And in the outcome, I'm saying display this information in the list format. Let's test this. So it's returning an error message. The issue here is I'm on a contact grid and it's not passing any GUID to my plugin. Let's open up a contact record. So if I run the same prompt again, now the Copilot is telling me there's no bank transactions, but there is no error message here. But if I go to an account, and now if I try to run the same prompt again, as you can see, I've got 3 bank transactions. So this is how you can retrieve the data from the third-party system and display the information against your specific records if you have to. So if you want to make it a bit better, for a better user experience, we should add some validation to the topic. So we don't want to display an error message to end users. So I'm going to put a condition here. So here again, there's a list of global variables here. What I want to do here is I'm going to put a condition. If the entity type is equal to account, then run this plugin, otherwise don't. So I'm going to choose the second one here. Equal to account. I'm going to delete my action because I need to call this in the condition itself. So now, if the entity type is equal to account, then run this plugin. Otherwise, send a message back to a user. This prompt can only work on the account form. Let's save this. Publish. Let's test this again on the contact grid. As you can see, we got the prompt. This prompt can only work on account form. There is no error message anymore. This is how you can add validation to your topics or to your prompts. Configure Sparkle menu. Let's have a look how to configure a Sparkle menu. To explain that, I'm going to open an out-of-the-box topic, Sales Sparks. This topic is responsible to generate the out-of-the-box Sparkle menu for the Copilot. So it's using an event-based trigger. The parse value action here is super important because this JSON value is responsible to generate the groups and the individual sparks underneath them. So the first parse value will parse the spark groups, and the second parse value will parse the individual sparks. And then we are storing that information in two global variables, one for the groups and one for the sparks. As I mentioned before, this value is responsible for generating the groups and the sparks. So let's have a look at that. So this is a structure of the JSON value. So the first three highlighted part, display name, display subtitle, icon name, that represents the group name. And the highlighted part here represents the individual sparks. If we stick to the same schema, then we can make changes. We can add more groups in there, or we can add additional sparks to the existing groups. So this is a managed solution. So I'm not going to make any changes to the out-of-the-box topic. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a copy of the Sales Spark topic, and I'm going to make my changes. So I'm not changing anything except this value, just JSON string, nothing else. So I have created a copy of the existing JSON string. So that's what it looks like. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new group and also going to add two sparks or prompts to it. So I'm going to change the display name of this to fast track. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to use the same thing for the subtitle. And I'm going to change this display name for the first spark to get recommendations. These are the topics we created in this session. And the second one is bank transactions. Copy this value. And paste it here. Press save. And that's it. One more thing here. So every topic has a code view. You can open the code editor, and if you're comfortable playing with the code, you can make those changes here instead of using the UI to make those changes. So this is a value we just changed. Publish it and test the results. So refresh this. And check the Sparkle menu. We can't see our values. This can happen because the Sparkle menu values are cached. So to see the published changes, we may have to log out and log back in again. I have launched a new browser window. Let's have a look at the Sparkle menu. I've got a new group there, and I have two different prompts. I'm going to run the bank transactions. As you can see, it works perfectly. I got all the bank transactions. One more tip here. If you're trying to add a new Spark to an existing group, like get info, then delete the out-of-the-box Sparks from there. Otherwise, it will create duplicates. Here are links to some useful resources. The first three, they're all about Copilot Studio. I have seen some really good blogs and tutorials on Copilot Studio too. The next one is Adaptive Card Designer. If you want to display your output in a nice way using Adaptive Card, then this is a link for you. And the last one is Markdown Guide. The Copilot in Sales is using Markdown Guide for formatting. So if you want to format your output without using adaptive cards, this is the way to go. The good thing is, adaptive cards also support Markdown Guide. This is the most important slide of the session. Embrace Copilot in Sales as a core solution. It's not just an add-on. Extensibility has opened up so many opportunities. If you have integration scenarios where you have to display the information from the external systems, please consider Copilot in Sales as a solution. Also,